Hello, everyone, and welcome to Future Salespeople's weekly round robin. This is episode 6, and Mr. Guest and I are cooking up some real fun for everyone today. And the topic today, Alex, is top 3 reasons you don't need a VP of sales. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. You and I talk about this a lot. Recently, we've been talking to more and more prospective opportunities and clients around why a fractional CRO might be a better fit for them. So excited to dig in to help people understand where they're at, what they need, and how to make sure that they're getting the right resource at the end of it.
Sounds great. No, you're absolutely right. We've been talking more and more people who are looking for fractional CROs, and whether that's us or other individuals with similar skill sets, this is a tremendous opportunity for companies to find the right person, the right group of people to help tackle various issues or challenges that are very specific to their company. So hopefully the early startup founders, whether you're in pre-seed, Series A, wherever you may be, this can be a great way of helping you understand what type of sales leader you might need if you need anything, or reasons, most importantly, why you wouldn't need one to begin with. And one of the biggest things that we focus in on, and we keep hearing from various executives out in the market, is that they end up just firing their sales leaders anyway. And this was well in advance of COVID-19. And this stat actually comes from Scaled, who is a friendly competitor of ours in the sales strategy, sales execution space. But they found, let's just read the quote, Alex. You really like this. Just give it to me. Give it to me.
I do. I think it's interesting. I think it's something that most people don't realize is that sales leaders are a fairly impermanent role or position at the organization, particularly in startups. 9 to 18 months, that's not very long. I think that's usually demonstrating that VP of sales isn't a good fit. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't drive the correct success or goals that you were expecting. And then on top of that, they get paid a lot. You and I have both been VPs of sales. You and I both know what those paychecks look like. It's low to mid 6 figures if you're doing it well, if you're doing it right. So you tend to be one of the most highly compensated people at the organization on top of that. So there's a ton of cost involved with that. If you don't get the right person, or if you get somebody too early, that's expensive for your organization.
That could be crippling for an organization, right? And the actual image below might be a little bit small for some of our viewers and our friends out there. But just to kind of summarize what's coming from our friends at Peak Sales Recruiting from a 2018 post that they had, if you can see coast to coast, it seems like the base salary is somewhere north of $200,000 with total on-target earnings going to be north of $300,000 to $350,000, upwards of $400,000. So that's a very expensive proposition to hire a VP of sales and then ultimately churn them out in 9 to 18 months. So we want to help you as an executive make sure you're not making the same mistakes that others have made before you, and giving you some good, hard, solid advice to prepare and protect your business.
Yep.
Ooh, go for it.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to avoid hiring the wrong role for your organization is to take a look at the goals that you have. I think it's a great place to start, because most of the people we talk to don't need a VP of sales. They just think they need a VP of sales. And it's because maybe their mentors or somebody in their network said, well, if you want to grow, you should probably get a sales leader. In reality, you really need to figure out what those goals are that you have for your organization. Are they building goals? So things like, we need to validate product market fit, ideal customer profiles, buyer personas. I need to build sales process within my CRM. I need funnels and stages. I need to figure out messaging and cadence. Or is it that you need to establish your first channel, your first sales channel for the first time? So typically inbound or outbound. That's totally different from goals that are related to growing, like generating revenue. I want to hit X revenue by the end of the year. I need to scale revenue. I need to see this percent growth month over month. I need to optimize things. I want to lower my cost per lead, my customer acquisition cost, or I need to add more bodies. We just have so many leads coming in. I need to add more people because we're totally drowning. There are also going to be goals related to scaling, but typically once you get to that point and your goals are based on scale, like diversification, specialization, you've already got a sales leader.
Pre-seed, Series A, you're probably not in this boat. And if
Yeah.
you're beyond that, you probably should tune us out for the rest of the time or go find one of our other videos. Hit like, subscribe, go see our other playlists, but really not the video for you. So we're going to spend the rest of our time today really going through and helping executives, CEOs really try to hone in and deduce what type of leader might work or that type of role that would be appropriate for them to hire, right? If they're in a building or a growing situation. We'll dance around scale a bit further, but we're really going to focus on that build, grow, and what might be actually most impactful for your business.
Exactly. And I think you nailed it, is that it's not necessarily a leader. It can be another role type based off your goals.
Right. And that's very interesting to even bring into the stage and start helping people really start to contrast those various roles or individuals that can help them depending upon their business goals, right? One of the things that we're really talking about in our prep is a true VP of sales, right? A true VP of sales is somebody who's there to make long-term and systematic changes and improvements, right? This is an individual that if you're not comfortable giving them 12 plus months of runway to actually put in process their efforts, their optimizations around strategy, around systems building, that could be things around, your sales process, how you hire folks, how you fire folks, how you train, how you organizationally forecast as a business. If you're not going to give them the time, never actually even make that hire. And if your organization actually doesn't even have some of those things in place, that level of seniority of true VP of sales, true big scale leader might not make sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's one of the things that startups get caught up in, thinking that they need to hire a VP of sales, is they're looking at those building goals. They're looking at trying to build process, establish sales channels for the first time. Yep. And they think that starts with strategy. And in reality, we've seen the best success when people start with execution, because you need to figure out what's working, what's not. You need to gather that data. You need to create a hypothesis. You need to prove that out before you make too many investments. That's something that you can do a lot early on, where one of the founders, one of the executives is taking on the sales, and you can extend that lifetime even longer by getting some training or some crash courses. So we do one-on-one training and crash courses with executives to help them extend that lifespan of them executing within a sales function. But then there are also great outsourcing options. We do it, obviously, but then if you just need to establish more in top of funnel, you still have an executive that's doing the selling, but you need someone to come in and generate the leads. There are lead generation systems out there. You shouldn't expect that they're going to blow your socks off, but it is an early way to start to generate some potential new business without investing in dedicated internal full-time employee resources before you have to.
Right. No, it absolutely on point. It's funny because we're talking about the long term and the short term, and we feel this is kind of an interesting dichotomy, right? Because it's either people are going straight to the long term hire when they really need individual execution. Within the midterm, kind of this middling process, what additional thoughts should we share with our viewers out there today? Like, to me, when we think about the short term, right, this is an individual who's really helping an early stage team execute, as you're saying, go ahead and actually put efforts into their sales motions out in marketplace to go ahead and allow other members of the team to focus on core responsibilities, either leading, setting the vision of the business, creating products, servicing customers. Really, this middling stage, this midterm, is really more of that builder in some ways, right? This is the individual that's going to start taking some of, they're going to take some of that initial work from that short-term individual contributor and start actually putting more formality into it. It's not a system-wide effort, but it's going to be more rigor than I've just gone out, I've sold to these people, it makes sense, I've had some success.
Yeah, it can be tough. And I think that's a good transition into kind of comparing and contrasting these different seniority levels and what you should really expect to get out of any of them. So when it comes to a leader, a VP, a CRO, a chief sales officer, you can expect that they should be able to scale and grow your organization. But if you bring them in too early, you shouldn't expect that they're going to do much building. Building can incorporate things like setting up your CRM and installing a sales process and funnels and reporting and things like that. But really, the most basic need from building is just selling. And you shouldn't hire a VP expecting them to sell and drive a revenue goal, because they've moved past it. And even if they haven't completely moved past it, they might not have the relevancy or the recent experience to really drive success in that arena. On the flip side of the equation, you almost get the infinite monkey theorem with individual contributors. If you just hire a ton of salespeople, you can't ever really expect process to come out of it, systems, scalability. It's something that if they don't have a leader, if they don't have somebody that is kind of framing that up and pulling it together, you might not get those long-term benefits. And then you have that kind of middling management position where, sure, they can probably build a little bit, they can sell a little bit, they're going to be more growth oriented, but you need to be careful about title inflation here. You don't want to take somebody that's never managed before, give them a manager title, and then have them sell and manage and build. It's going to be too much. You're likely not going to get the impacts you're looking for. And on the flip side of that, you don't want to take somebody that's maybe a manager director, give them a VP title so they'll join your startup, but in reality, they're going to be selling and building, and they don't have the ability to help you grow and scale into the future. It can be tough, but the most important thing to recognize here is that you need to hire the role based off of what you're looking for. Individual contributors are going to help you sell. Management is going to help you organize that and build process, and VPs are really going to be there for the long-term, bigger strategic opportunities.
Couldn't agree more. There we are. My mouse is going crazy, Alex. Let me go ahead and move our faces up so we can get out of the way here. Point number 3 that we have, sticking to your role profile, right? Selling themselves. So these are some constructive criticism or ideas to actually help people start honing in and making sure that they are finding the right person at the right time, if you will, at the very bottom. But some concerns that you might have while you're out there, while you're trying to find and ascertain if this could be a good fit for you. Selling themselves. Sales professionals are tremendous sellers. So whether or not you have, whether or not they're totally aligned to your needs, or if they feel that they're even the best person for the needs for the job, chances are a sales professional, a sales leader can go ahead and sell themselves into any type of situation, right? Some things that you should really be careful about when you're looking for these types of selling situations is, do they really share domain expertise with your organization, right? Are you SaaS? Are you a professional services-based organization? Do they actually have germane experience to go ahead and impact your group? Second part is the actual background of that individual themselves. Are they doing B2B sales, B2C sales? Is it partnerships? Is it direct sales? And then finally, going into the specialization around that as well. What else do you have to share there, Alex?
I mean, salespeople are good at selling. You need to be very, very careful. Well, we do dive into this topic in more depth, but generally you can see it in the resume. You can see it on their LinkedIn. So the easiest thing is to compare their LinkedIn to their resume. If you see discrepancies in their background and what they specialize in what their domain or experience actually was, that's a pretty good sign that they're just trying to sell themselves into your organization. You can also play some games during the interview process where you can position different opportunities or perspectives and see if they're just mirroring you, if they're just telling you what you want to hear. But this one can be really tough, and it's tough if you're hiring a salesperson as an individual contributor or all the way into the C-suite underneath sales and revenue, because they have picked up good tactics over time to make themselves appear better and to sell themselves.
Absolutely. And along those lines, like selling themselves, appearing to be better than they are necessarily for your role. It's not to take away anything from the individual or their capabilities, right? And we often find that startup executives of seed, pre-seed, Series A, one of the things that we tend to see, especially within their first sales hires, or one of the most common mistakes is making an aspirational hire, right? It's one of those things where you see a tremendous background, right? They've sold for Facebook, Amazon, they've sold for Google, they've sold for Salesforce. And at the same time, those individuals likely haven't actually gone from the ground up. They maybe haven't sold as individual contributors sometimes. So if that's what your needs are, they probably actually haven't sold in some time outside of selling themselves to you and your business. The other part too is once you get to that scale, if you really need somebody who can help you grow and start putting in some more processes, those individuals at FAANG or these large organizations they're really the ones who are optimizing, tweaking existing systems and processes. They're not the ones who are actually going ahead and laying the foundation. The other one, I know you love the pedigree itself and the word pedigree. What do you want to share with our friends about pedigree today?
I've worked with some very brilliant people that went to Ivy League schools. I have worked with some people that have went to Ivy League schools that I'm surprised they made it through. But I've also seen executives at companies that I've worked with hire based off of the school that somebody went to, who their family is, legitimately familial connections. That can be really painful because that's not necessarily alignments to what you and your organization needs, and certainly not in factoring in the role that you're looking for based off of your goals. I would say that's somewhat similar to the Fortune 500 as well, is that you get starry-eyed with these aspirational hires, and it's someone that worked at Oracle or Goldman Sachs, and it's this big name, and it's really interesting. But typically, I find that those people, similar to the household names, the Facebooks, Amazons, Netflix, Googles, and Salesforces of the world, they were there as an operator. They might have held a manager and director title,
Right.
but they had a very small piece of a large pie. So it's going to be difficult for them to potentially build and scale. And again, not saying that this is global. Don't hire people from Harvard or Oracle or Facebook because there's great talent there, but just understand that those names alone aren't going to indicate success.
I want to add one other on pedigree, and this is one that we've heard as of late too. I was an early stage employee at XYZ company that's now a unicorn. I was either working, consulting, or helping with them as employee number 5. You mentioned infinite monkey theorem. That's also applicable here to me as well, right? So you can go ahead and get lucky. Somebody could go ahead and bang away at a keyboard and actually be a part of Unicorn and have rocket fuel growth and show that type of pedigree on the resume, right? So you need to be able to go ahead and have some strong controls around how you would actually test this, right?
Yeah. I mean, to your point, that is more of a timing issue. It's better understanding what projects and initiatives they were driving and what success they saw during their time there. We see these rocket ships take off, but if you were there before the rocket launched or you arrived after it was in orbit, you might have missed out on the chief experience that your startup needs to be able to produce similar results.
Ooh, I like that. You're mentioning timing again. So let's just go right down to the bottom one. Right person, wrong time. There are a couple of these. So the inflated expectations, right? Like, hey, we know this year we're going to quadruple in growth. Therefore, we need to have a VP of sales to go ahead and work with us. That's not based in reality. It's not based in data. This is one of those common tropes that we see from startup leaders of, we need to grow because our investors tell us. And so therefore, we need to have this hire to go ahead and support us.
Yep.
Outside of
that all too often.
Yep, the future-looking product too, and this is one that really, I think, grinds our gears as a business and as a partnership. It's getting excited about a new product and just hypothesizing about all the success it could have without actually validating product market fit. Going ahead and hiring because you assume the new product is going to kick butt, take names, and could be the next wave of growth for your organization. Being unfounded, therefore you're going to hire and probably hate that person in the next 12 to 18 months anyway. Lack of validation, Alex, what say you there, my friend?
I see organizations getting themselves into trouble as they start to grow, as they start to scale, on the lack of validation, particularly with building new channels. Partnerships are all the rage all the time. And if your organization doesn't have a good foundation to really support partnerships, you could hire a bunch of people, partnership leaders, sales leaders, people to execute on that, and pour a few $100,000 down the drain in total compensation because you weren't ready for it. And it's a lot easier to validate those things moving forward and slowly grow those teams and use internal resources and promotions to set those up for success without losing that same investment. It might be slowing things down to speed them up in the long run, but you do end up saving time, energy, resources.
In conclusion, my friend, I think we have some nice little tidbits to help our friends out here as far as protecting their business and making sure that they're taking some action items from this. I just want to leave the role profile up here, just crazy for 1 second. But I think the biggest thing that we try to coach startup executives with is embrace the pain. How long can you go without making a sales hire? And how long can you go with just leveraging your training? And you already mentioned it earlier, outsourcing, right? So how long can your training, your systems, your processes, and then therefore outsourcing help you get to your goals? Stay steadfast with those, right? Bringing in an executive hire will dilute your equity, will go ahead and put your company on a completely different path, as well as just change your executive dynamics as well within your organization, and have other ramifications that you might not be calculating outside of bringing this role aboard. Outside of that, I think the other big one for us was really staying steadfast as to what your goals are by making this hire, Alex. You said multiple times, if you're an executive and you don't want to sell, don't bring in a VP of sales who doesn't want to sell either, probably. Go find that individual contributor that can actually go ahead, close deals, and help your business grow. And the last one, Alex, the role profiles. This is your vision, your baby here. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at FSP, we put together role profiles around what you're looking for in an individual, different traits, the skills that they need to have. And that's something to help you keep steadfast to the role that is really going to help you keep on target for that goal. You need to be cutthroat about this, because it's really easy to get excited about somebody that's selling themselves to you. It's really easy to get excited about somebody that worked at Facebook. It's really easy to get excited about somebody that is going to be your perfect VP in 6-12 months, but they're not going to help you execute until then. You might miss out on hiring that person in the long run, but ultimately, if you're optimizing for what you need to get to where you want to go, you're going to feel a lot less pain. And again, if you can't do it yourself, get some training, take some courses. We're happy to help with that. And if all else fails, you can start to do some outsourcing before you hire expensive internal dedicated resources that may or may not fit.
No, and I think that's a really great way to end it before we go ahead and conclude and share what's up next is, this is a really interesting time for people. There's a tremendous amount of talent out there, right? And tremendous amount of people who have very unique experience that can help your business grow and scale and help them accomplish certain tasks. It's not necessarily the gig economy, but when you have talented sales professionals, sales leaders who can and would likely want to help your business, find them. There's future salespeople, there's salesmen there are a variety of other fractional CROs out there that can help you, that are going to be specific in your industry, serving your buyer personas or your ideal customer profiles. So you can find that, and or you can outsource aspects of it or portions or functions of what you're looking for a VP of sales or a sales leader to provide to your business. And then, coming up next, Alex, what are we talking about?
Getting paid to validate your product market fit. This is another one that we talk about a lot. You and I talk about it a lot. We talk a lot about it a lot with our prospects, with our clients. I think startups think about validation as stopping or slowing down or preventing progress, where in reality, if you're doing it right, you should be developing pipeline and closing deals as you continue to validate product market fit. Whether it's for the first time, it's for a new channel, it's for a new product feature upgrade, you're checking out a new ideal customer profile or buyer persona, you don't have to lose growth and progress just because you're taking the time to measure twice and cut once.
I love it. Measure twice, cut once. Whereas what we see in the startup world is they like to measure once, cut twice, right?
Or just cut.
Cut. Well, friends, thanks for tuning in today. Do us a favor. If you've enjoyed the content, please comment, please like. It helps more people find future salespeople and these resources that we're putting out there to help improve and grow the startup community, as well as startup leaders' knowledge around sales leadership and revenue execution. Subscribe, help us out. We're excited to share more with you. Let us know what else you'd like for us to talk about in the future. Thanks and take care.
Thanks, everyone.